What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and today I'm reviewing the brand new Air Max 2090. Every year for the last 5 years, I think, March 26th has been dubbed by Nike Air Max Day. And every year on Air Max Day, Nike releases a few different Air Max models and also usually releases a new version of the Air Max silhouette. And 2020 is no different because this year we got the brand new Air Max 2090. And with the Air Max 2090, Nike is doing one of the things that they do really well, which is draw on their history. As you may already be able to tell, the Air Max 2090 is heavily inspired by the Air Max 90, which originally released in 1990, which is 30 years ago. In fact, I would almost consider this shoe the modern take on the Air Max 90, and I really do think that's a good thing. The Air Max 90 is so insanely popular for a reason, and so by drawing on that sneaker, you really do get a lot of the great elements from that shoe on this new version of the sneaker. The Air Max 2090 officially released in a few different colorways on March 26th for a retail price of $150. And I really do think for a brand new Air Max model, Nike really did a great job with this shoe. So jumping right into the sneaker itself, a majority of the upper is covered in this clear plastic mesh. Underneath this clear plastic mesh, which you've probably seen on a lot of recent Nike sneakers, you've actually got this textile liner which goes right up against your foot. Around the tip of the toe, you've got this fuse overlay for added durability. And then as you move up on the shoe, around the tongue cutout, you've got some more fuse overlay covering up some blue stitching details. This colorway of the Air Max 2090 comes with black flat laces that actually weave through these little loops that line the cutout for the tongue. It's not flywire, it's not anything like that, it's just a very simple looping setup, which I'm not mad at. Underneath the laces, you've got a black mesh tongue, and at the top of the tongue, you've got this diagonal cutout with some sort of glossy rubber around the outside of it. I guess it's supposed to be a pull tab, I guess. I don't know why they would do it like that. Maybe they just did it to be unique. I don't know why they did it like that, but it is what it is. I think the cutout looks fine, but it is still a tad bit too small, so it's kind of hard to pull the shoe onto your foot with your finger, but at the end of the day, it's not really a big deal. Even though the shoe looks like it has a separate tongue, it's actually attached to an internal booty system, so you can't change up the sizing of the shoe that much, so you want to make sure you're grabbing the right size for you. Inside the shoe, you've got a black sock liner around the heel with some really nice padding, which genuinely does feel really nice up against your foot. The insole of the shoe comes in black with the 2090 emblem and a Nike swoosh printed on the heel. As for sizing and fit, the Air Max 2090 does seem to fit true to size. I bought a size 9, which is my true size. I wore the shoe around for the day, and I've got to say, feels great. My one small gripe is that my toes did feel a tad bit scrunched, but I feel like if I went up a half size, it would be too much space, so it's just something I'm gonna have to deal with, and I don't think it's gonna be a problem for everybody. It just might be that maybe I have long toes, I don't know. As for the actual comfort of the upper, it did feel pretty good on foot. You've got some really nice padding around the ankle area, which feels really nice because it kind of cups your heel, which I love. And then moving forward in the shoe, you don't really have any padding in the upper except for the tongue area, and I've got to be honest, it's not a big deal. That's pretty standard for shoes nowadays, and it still feels great on foot. As you move back on the shoe, you get to the synthetic leather panel that runs along the midfoot of the sneaker, which is actually pretty reminiscent of the Air Max 90. In addition to the shape of the panel, you've also got this infrared hit, which also seems like a callback to the infrared OGs. Just above that on the plastic mesh, you've got this printed black Nike swoosh. And then as you move farther back on the shoe, you get to this, what I can only assume is air text, because it looks like they took all three letters, the A, I, and R, and chopped off all the parts that would let you know what letter they are. So I'm assuming that's what it is. That's kind of what it looks like, but I don't know for sure because the letters aren't fully there. Then moving around to the heel of the shoe, you've got this semi-translucent gray heel tab, which actually bears a striking resemblance to the heel tab on the Air Max 90. If you look at the heel tab from the side, you'll notice that these ribs sort of extrude out from the heel tab, which is actually the opposite of how it is on the Air Max 90, where they go into the heel tab. I think it's actually a pretty cool callback to the Air Max 90. It's different, it modifies that design, but it still has the same shape, so you still understand what it is. It also actually has that same Air logo and the Nike swoosh hidden in between the ridges, which I think is pretty cool. To be honest though, it does kind of remind me of the grill of a car, or just a grill in general, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but definitely what I think of. Just above that, you've got this infrared colored pull tab. And then moving down on the shoe, you get to the namesake of the sneaker, the Air Max unit, and also what I consider to be the best part of the sneaker, the midsole. Now the reason I say that this is the best part of the shoe is because this is the only really part of the sneaker for me that really stands out. The upper is fine, comfort-wise, it's not anything special. Looks-wise, it definitely looks good, but it's not anything incredible. The midsole, however, has this super soft foam in the forefoot, which I think is React, but I'm not totally sure because they didn't call it out in their website. And then you've also got the Air Max unit in the heel, which is soft, but it's not too soft to where you feel like it's too mushy. The midsole of the shoe and its comfort is really what makes this shoe stand out. The Air Max unit in the heel, as you can probably tell, is heavily inspired by the Air Max 90. Now the unit itself definitely seems to be larger and bouncier than that in the Air Max 90, and I really like it because it feels really great underfoot. The rubber casing around the Air unit also comes in that sort of semi-translucent gray with ribbing that we found on the heel counter. I just noticed that the midsole has some sort of candy flaking in there, or candy coating, which again reminds me of a car, so maybe this shoe was inspired by a car. I don't know. It really wouldn't surprise me though. A lot of sneakers have been inspired by cars. As for the forefoot, like I said, it has this super soft foam in there, which again I think feels like React, but because they didn't call it out, I'm not totally sure. Nike tends to tell you when they're using React because it's one of the more flagship materials, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. And then finally, moving to the bottom of the shoe, you've got this really nice semi-translucent gray outsole. The Air Max 2090 is a solid everyday sneaker, and for Air Max heads, this is definitely a sneaker that you should pick up, especially if you love the Air Max 90. For 150 bucks, it's not cheap, but it's also not too expensive. So if you really like this sneaker, I don't think you'll regret picking it up. That said, is it a monumental improvement over any of the previous Air Maxes? Not really. It's definitely more of an iterative improvement, but it's one that I really like and one that I'm excited to wear. But now I would love to know your thoughts on the Air Max 2090 and whether you plan on grabbing one of these for yourself, or maybe you did on Air Max Day. So let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.